What's going on, guys? And welcome to another episode of Progress Always, where we're here to build the fittest leaders. And I've got my homie, Aaron Velky, founder of Get Out of Your Own Way. And if you're on a mission to do that for yourself, connect with my guy and he'll help you create your living vision as it's right there behind his shoulder. We'll dive into a little bit of that evolution here in a little bit. But I'm super excited to have you on today because, like I was sharing with you before we came on, I'm still peaking from Mycal Anders' dinner because you and I hadn't been in deliberate contact for a couple of months. And walking into that room, casually late, and all my favorite people sitting at that table, everybody I know and those that I met that night, creating big visions, taking that next easiest step over and over and over again habitually. Oh, it filled my soul, man. And what's really dope about that is the subconscious and implicit accountability that comes with, ooh, the last time I saw him, I said I was gonna do X. And you start checking boxes. Did I fucking do it? Because I know he's going to ask me about it. So I want to dive in there, man, because I know piggybacking on Mycal's event, I came to Living Vision in your health pillar, which was absolutely amazing. The cast of characters that you had present that evening, and it seems like you're having the evolution of Aaron lately has been very explicitly putting the right people in rooms and growing and expanding the community aspect of your coaching practice.
Yeah, dude. There's so many deep elements of change here. Yeah. One, I don't think you were late. I think you were fashionably on time. You had to make an entrance. You had to make an entrance.
I almost didn't come.
I get it.
Yeah.
What might be a good place to start if you're listening and you're in the middle of maybe rebuilding your circle, or you want to level it up. Mm-hmm. Here's something that has really helped me understand the mechanics of it. You and I are busy men. Yeah. And if you're around ambitious, busy men, or you want to be around people that are getting after it, mm-hmm. There is no chance that you're going to have frequency in your relationships. It's impossible. There's no way for me to create the kind of frequency that I could 10 years ago or 15 years ago, where every Friday I'd hang out with the same crew, or, every month we'd do something together. Sure. It's just not going to happen. Mm-hmm. What is then required, if I can't get frequency, because mm-hmm. frequency allows you to build depth over time, is that we skip the duration of that and we just go to depth. Mm-hmm. So if I can't do frequency, I know that all my relationships are predicated on how deep can we go and how accelerated can we get to a place where we're on the same page. Yeah. And if you're in a big room and you haven't seen somebody for months and there's a lot to catch up on, you don't have time to be like, hey man, did you see the game last week? Like, bro, I don't even know what game you're talking about.
Right. Yeah.
So a lot of my work naturally puts me around, high level guys that are getting after it. That's my role as a coach and our clientele. But I've also had to rebuild. This is now 3 years here in Arizona, and I think the conduit to anything that you want is through the right people.
Yep.
And if you serve and you show up with the lens of servitude, then you can really get in rooms and get around the right people if you're vibrating on the same frequency as them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You really got to be able to bring some thunder if you're going to do that.
Yeah, man. I share with people all the time, in my team that I mentor, my clients that I mentor, and regardless of whether you're building something on the internet or in person or whatever, it's all predicated on relationships. Mm-hmm. All of it. Duration, frequency, intensity, and consistency.
Yeah.
Right. And it's so interesting to me, as connected as we are via the internet. I mean, fuck, we're having this conversation and I know you're 5 minutes down the road. We've never been so isolated.
Right.
And, one of the things that's come to me lately is this idea that, 10, 15 years ago, if you were first to the internet, you crushed with like very minimal effort. And I feel like we're in this period, we're experiencing this full circle moment where if you can do the in-person part well, look somebody in the eye, speak with clarity and being concise and talk about exactly what it is you want and how you can serve and provide value, blah, 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 blah. That is such a breath of fresh air today that you will create way more momentum so much faster, to your point, than just being another email blast,
Yeah.
another YouTube clip,
And there's so much opportunity
Mhm.
to get face to face, and
Mhm.
it's harder.
Yeah.
There's way more logistics.
Mhm.
There's time that is much more structured in those
Mm.
kinds of circumstances. You've got to be better at setting your phone down and being
Mhm.
present. You've got to know how to connect, and not anyone can talk. To know how to connect is a different skill, right?
Mhm.
To know how to show up as a human being and talk to a human being.
Yeah.
And in both of our businesses, the idea of leadership and helping someone grow fully relies on trust before you can push somebody.
Yeah. Absolutely.
It's just it's
Mhm.
a skill set that doesn't seem to get enough conversation. They
Mhm.
used to be called soft skills, and I think we're about to transition into this era where that label has to be remade.
Yeah.
They are right now the soft skills that are now very
Mm.
real can be outsourced by AI and different tools. And now the
Mhm.
hard skills are communication, their
Mhm.
connection, and their the ability to navigate where is someone else, where am I, and what's that happy middle.
Yeah. Well, like to your point, like we're still people. You and I still need to be able to present ideas and communicate effectively. And if we're not careful as a society, and we go into Chat GPT and say, act as my CMO and say the word so I can get it out there. Well, you no longer own those ideas, and you are no longer in the practice of active communication.
Yep.
So that oh my God, you have this really dynamic digital persona. And then you get asked to come on stage and somebody writes you a check and you communicate like absolute shit. Or
Yeah, dude.
That's a problem.
Dude, so I would encourage anyone listening to check this out. There was a study that just got published. It got published like this week or in the last
Mhm.
2 weeks
Yeah.
about what's happening cognitively when you overuse AI.
Mm.
And it's showing diminished cognitive function.
Yep.
So that's one side. But the other side of the study was that a human being reading something written by AI can't intellectually tell that it was written by a machine.
Mhm.
The words are there, right? The synopsis, the expression, but there's an intuitive piece that's missing.
Mhm.
And when they did the study, they found that humans reading AI generated essays and prompts and responses couldn't detect it mentally, but they could feel like something was soulless.
Yes.
And
Okay.
I think this goes back to how to build a circle. And if you think you can build an ecosystem, if you think you can get around movers and shakers, if you think you can develop relationships automatedly
Mhm.
or through the lens of scale without really digging into the connection piece, I would caution that individual to really look themselves in the mirror.
Mhm. Yeah, I feel like there's an ethical component to that model that
Oh yeah,
people are trying to skip. You know what I
trying
mean?
to skip steps. Yeah,
Yeah. The so what I love about our relationship is the willingness to, and this is what I'm experiencing a lot as I'm moving into this next level, and I'm super super pumped about what's going to come next for the gym, because I was on my way out and then I got called back in, and I'll share with you a story in a second. But being able to tap in and hey, I know we haven't talked in a while. Here's where I think I'm headed. Uh, Shoot holes in this idea, right? And the lack of tap dancing around your
Mm,
opinion and the directness, better word, forthrightness of,
mhm.
hey, I'm not telling you that idea sucks, and you didn't, but I'm going to give you my honest insight. I'm not going to mince my words to protect your feelings because that doesn't help you.
Right.
You know what I mean? And do with this information what you please, but just remember you asked for this. So here it is. Right? And that's again very rare in this world right now is one, somebody asking for an honest opinion, two, when they get it, not holding it against the person who delivered it.
Man, I will always hold that as how to show love.
Hmm.
You know, the adaptation that is required in entrepreneurship is that you learn to communicate well.
Hmm.
You don't always learn by proxy of entrepreneurship to communicate truth. In coaching, and particularly my responsibility, and I know this is your responsibility too,
Hmm.
it's to communicate truth. And if you cannot communicate truth, and I've been here in relationships, I've been here in friendships, I've been here in business, if you cannot communicate truth, you are shackled and you are restricted. And if
Hmm.
we're going to build lives of freedom and pursue what we're passionate about, truth is the only way to talk.
Hmm.
And that might be really hurtful.
Yeah.
I would prefer to be hurt through the lens of truth because then I can grow.
Hmm.
But if I am protected by a lie, I am stunted. And
Right.
I don't know that that's a cultural thing right now. It
Hmm.
seems that it's convenient to just say what's easiest or say to validate what you're saying or to hear you and not create confrontation. I do think there's a hesitation for people to engage in conflict or
Yeah.
contradiction at all
Yep.
that is really in need of incredible leveling up across the country.
Hmm.
But in entrepreneurship in particular, in the pursuit of business, in the pursuit of performance, you got to be able to hunt for truth, even
Yeah.
if that truth sucks, like totally stings.
Sure. And for people that are conflict adverse, let's say, I the bypass to diminish the friction is curiosity.
Hmm.
And that's where I feel like uh what I'm witnessing not happening in human interaction these days is just a genuine lack of curiosity. You know, why do you have that opinion? Why are you hanging on to that? What's the reason that you have that perspective? Give like let's I'm genuinely curious. Like I'm not looking to shoot holes in your shit. I'm not trying to bring you to my side of the fence. I don't even want to agree to disagree. Like I'm not into any of that. I'm just genuinely curious in where whatever it is comes from for you, you know?
Yeah. This is where your environment and the people you hang with dictate your future.
Mhm.
If you hang with individuals that are only aligned with the way that you think, you end up in this dangerous echo chamber
Mhm.
where an idea it gathers momentum, but it's only gathering momentum inside a very fixed set of individuals.
Yeah.
And if all you get is validation that this idea is great because the individuals are so aligned with you, and then you get out into the world, you might realize that that idea does not stick, does not land, or does not have merit or base.
Right.
And I like to build communities. I like to build relationships with people that have wildly different opinions,
Mhm.
perspectives, experiences, because I don't know it all. I
Mhm.
know I don't know it all.
Yeah.
I think as a coach, people assume that you have answers. And I
Mhm.
tell people all the time, well, especially when it comes to vision, I don't have your vision. Like you're not paying, you're not investing in this program for me to give you your vision. You're paying for someone to guide you through a method that will help you extract it. But at best, I have the questions, not the answers.
Mhm. Yeah.
And that sometimes requires major pushback. And I find that the strongest minds, the most advanced intellects are curious by nature. And when they encounter resistance, it is not room to like spar. It's room to like hug and say, like, help me understand. Why do you think that? And to your point, and to your credit, you do a great job of doing that in every situation.
Yeah. Help me understand. What a powerful statement. And what's really interesting is when people, it's a really simple and effective way to help people unmask their own bullshit. Like, am I just repeating what I heard from my favorite talking head on the internet, or do I actually believe that? And when you approach somebody with that premise, help me understand. Well, oh shit, they have to go another layer deeper in that thought.
Yeah.
And oh my God, like that is way shallower than I anticipated. Or, oh, those roots run real deep.
Yeah. I
love that.
My confrontation to most people is that they're lazy. And
tell me more.
They're lazy in a lot of fucking ways. They're lazy physically, right? The line of least resistance is how they move their health forward. So what's convenient, what's in front of me, not what's best for me, not what's aligned to a vision. If I tell you that, so I'm 37, if I said at 40, I want to have a 6-pack, be able to run a 6-minute mile, and have all my levels really dialed into optimal space.
Yeah,
I've got to make very inconvenient choices. And the same is true with your own opinions, right? I think we're inherently lazy because it's much faster, swifter, and more convenient to just adopt someone else's opinions rather than do the work of like, why do I think that?
Yeah.
And being a dad to a almost 3-year-old, what I'm also learning about very young kid who's teaching me a lot of things is that his opinions aren't formed by externalities nearly as easily as they are as adults. Like there's no filter. He's just like, I don't like this, or I do like this. There's no filter.
Yeah.
And certainly there's an imprinting that happens. And very naturally, like one moment he can love, like he'll say, Dad, can I have noodles for dinner? I'll make noodles. And by the time I get the noodles ready, he's like, I don't want noodles. Right. but I would almost say that what that's teaching me and what makes that feel like a superior model is that it's our unwillingness to move our opinion and move our perspective and move our feelings about something that makes us flawed. It's if we can move it, just like he's like, I want noodles, I don't want noodles. Man, there's wisdom in that. Hey, I think this. You know what? I don't think that anymore.
Yeah.
Or I believe in this. You know what? I found some evidence that says that is complete horseshit, and I don't believe that anymore. And I love this brand, and now I don't. I love that person, and now I'm struggling. Yeah. And that opens up a layer of connection that is not only empowering as a leader, but it's empowering as someone in the service of others to say, hey, I think this is the best way I can serve you. You know what? Actually, that didn't work for you. I'm gonna let that position go.
I was asked the other day, we're moving locations. We're actually going to be closer to you now.
Nice.
Assuming I can get this thing done by Monday. In this pivot, and I was asked, what's going to be different this go around than what you've been doing for the last 12 years? And I was like, dude, that is, of all the things I've been asked as of late, that is the easiest question to answer because I actually know what the fuck I'm doing now. Yay! A lot of people don't know this, man. I got out of the Marine Corps on Friday and I was in the gym working on Monday. And 14 months later, I opened CrossFit PHX, what is now Next Level Performance Consulting. And like know everything there is to know about training and fitness. I actually had coffee with Greg the other day. And we were talking about somatics and all this stuff, and knew fuck all about business. You and I sit down now and talk about this next evolution and whatnot. And your insight is, dude, you're a visionary, you need an integrator. Quick, fast, and in a hurry. Don't hire anybody else. Get one of those. And I know exactly what that means, right? My ego 12 years ago would have been like, I don't know what the fuck that means. We're going to make people sweat and smile. Never mind, and like Dilt's model of change, you have to work the top and you have to work the bottom. The top of the pyramid is very existential, very spiritual in nature in terms of your future identity, your belief systems, etc. But where the rubber meets the road is curating your environment to support and build the bridge between where you are and where it is you aspire to be. And that's the hard work. And I mean that because it's a very simple decision.
Yes. Simple. Yes.
I cannot hang out with this person, these people anymore, or I need to limit my interaction with them because deep and ride or die as they may be, they don't support this evolved version of Mycal. But because of the history, right, the duration, the frequency, the intensity of what you may have been through together, it makes stretching those bonds or cutting them completely really challenging. But it's a very simple decision to make.
Yep.
Right. But that's a lot of hard mental work. Like, do I desire to be this highest, best version of me more than I value these relationships?
Yeah, man. We've taken I wouldn't say radical. We've taken a different, perhaps the word is modified approach to the idea of vision.
Okay.
To me, there's two ways to make a decision. I can make a decision based on my history, or I can make a decision based on my future. That's it. So if vision is representative of the future that I want, all it really does is informs the decision that I should be directed to today. It's simple. It's very simple. But history tends to be more informative for our choices. So our history tells us if we think something will work. Our history tells us if there's going to be discomfort, if we're going to fail, if there's going to be conflict, if there's going to be pain. And that is such a pile of shit. It's such an excuse. And I'm guilty of it. I'm not saying that I'm totally resolved of this. If we look at that, though, and say, these decisions have been made from the lens of history, I can only get what I've had. I'll never get anything new. So I'm in this loop of, well, this is how I've always done it, so this is how I'll do it. Or this result isn't that bad. And I would remit to most people that the most dangerous thing that can be said in the land of personal growth and performance is it's not that bad.
Yeah.
If you build from the lens of future, certainly there might be hard decisions, hard activity, hard changes that are necessary. But that's the only way. That's really the only way to get something you haven't had before, is to say, I'm going to make a choice based on my future, my vision, and I'm going to live as if that's where I'm going.
Yes.
And it really is simple. I find the comedy of complexity to be very ironic, right? We make it very complicated. It's not that complicated. Go to the gym.
Right.
it's not.
Just go.
Yeah, just go. Like, and if it's your first time in the gym ever, you did it. Just walk in, sign up, leave. Next day, go for 5 minutes. Go sit. Just sit. And build this structure and play the long game. And for the idea of relationships too, I think there's a way to show up in relationship that's often uncomfortable. It's much more aligned with my future to give you truth than it is to just placate you.
Right.
Like, that's who I want me to be.
Yes.
And the more I do that, the more I'm like, oh, this is safe.
Yeah.
And I start to trust it. And like magic starts to happen. Magic has always happened when I've been like, I'm going to act the way I want to act, not the way I've been told to act.
It's a practice.
Yeah.
And we use these sports analogies because you and I are athletes and all that good stuff. And it sounds cliche, but it really is. It's all a practice. Like you make that decision to step into a higher, better version of yourself. And the conscious expectation is I'm going to make this decision and it's all going to come together. Oh, a little touch screen. That's fancy.
Oh, dude,
Okay.
this is a magical board, dude.
Ooh, we're going to talk about that offline.
Magic. We'll draw a happy face for everybody that's watching.
Oh, okay. I see you, ESPN. All right.
Yeah,
I got you.
I'm ready for Madden drawing.
But that's so far from the reality of change and shift and becoming, right? I can't tell you, because my natural leadership style is very democratic and collaborative. I want to know everybody's thoughts and opinions. That's my desire. Mm-hmm. That's not how I show up. That's not how Aaron experiences me in leadership. So it's very counterintuitive based on you. If you didn't know me and you didn't know that about me, to take that explicit expectation seriously.
Yeah.
Because how do I show up? Right? Extrovert, decisive, action taking, Like this motherfucker's moving. What's my opinion matter? Right? However, that's very important to me. You know what I mean? And I have, in shifts that I've made in the way that I communicate that expectation, and we will, until the shift locks in and takes hold, we will regress.
Yeah.
How far and for how long? The real progress is that feedback loop getting shorter and shorter and shorter, not going away completely. And that's the part that people either dismiss or won't work through.
Yep.
Right. I have literally disengaged from a conversation, walked out of the room, and said to myself out loud, that's an old pattern. Do something different. Turned around, walked back in the room and said, hey, we are not complete. I'm investigating. I'm playing with a new practice. Forgive me. And then I step into, and dude, that is vulnerable. That is humbling. That is hard.
Yep.
But I've been 1000% of the time, every single time I've done that for myself, it's been met. Even if I didn't get the desired result, the outcome that I was really looking for, and that what I was met with was grace. Mm-hmm. Like, dude, thank you. Appreciate that. That's awesome. Even if they don't quite understand what the hell is actually going on for me.
Yeah.
Just the space was created, you know? Yeah.
If they respond poorly to that, that's an exile move right away. If you don't receive somebody coming in and saying, hey, I'd like to actually restate this, or can I share a lens, or can I add something to this that is going to help me become who I want to become? Man, yeah, rid yourself of that person fast.
100%, man. 100%. In your practice, like Aaron's practice for Aaron, have you had evolutionary moments like that where in real time you had to choose, you were in an old pattern and had to step into a new one?
Not only have I had being in an old pattern and recognizing I need to see a new pattern, I've been in a new pattern and feel the pull to an old pattern.
Ooh.
Right. So both of these things require awareness about what's creating the decision. Is it the history or is it the future? I can think of this with business. I can think of this with my workouts lately.
Tell me a story.
I'll tell you two of them. I had a client reach out who worked with me about 5 years ago. And it was just like a quick check-in. And he had asked me, what would it look like if I re-engaged? And the difference between me 5 years ago and today is light years. The difference in what it takes to invest in a program is also light years. And there was a pull for me to shrink down to where I was to make it feel comfortable. And
comfortable for you or comfortable for him?
Comfortable for him.
Okay. Real quick? I'm interrupting you on purpose. Is that an assumption you're making, or is that something that's been validated? Okay.
Yeah, probably.
So he didn't say he didn't set the expectation that he wanted the old price.
Yeah, it's just like, hey, what's it look like to work with you now? Yeah, so I'm assuming, these all of these go back to what was our relationship in the past, right? History.
Yep.
So I'm having this moment of I'm more thinking about him and where he's at than I am thinking about me and where I'm at. And what's going to make him feel comfortable and safe, and what's going to get a yes. And that's not what I'm after.
Right.
So to be aware of that, I'm watching myself like gear up to shrink. I'm watching myself gear up to be like, let me just be smaller. This is great. and
I'm laughing because I'm playing this out in my mind just so you're outside yourself.
Yeah. What are you doing, bro? Dude, there's two Aarons, right? There's past Aaron, future Aaron. Like, past Aaron's like, come on, man. Like, it'll be fun. He's fine. Like, let's do it like the old days. Like, cool. Like, don't get too big for your britches. Like, that kind of shit. And then future Aaron's like, he doesn't say anything. He just shakes his head. Don't listen to that cat. So I tell him, I'm having this moment of awareness, and I am in the process of telling him like where things are at now, and I'm noticing this compulsion to justify, right? To like build the road to where I'm at, rather than to just say where I'm at.
Yeah.
And I paused that. I had to stop that mental thought, kind of like a meditation. You let it drift. And I'm like, well, here's what the program looks like now. That's all I said. Here's what the program looks like now. And I have 3 sentences. I'm like, this is what it looks like to invest in that. In my mind, that was relationship suicide. This was a someone I had worked with, someone that had already developed trust. And I felt like that space was going to be widened like the Grand Canyon. And I'll never forget it because it programmed something new in me. What he said, I am so glad to see you have grown so much.
Yes.
And I was like, well, that was unexpected. But future Aaron was like, duh. Because here's the reality, especially in my profession and in our business, we have to be stewards of people growing.
Yep.
And if I don't grow, I have no right to command the kind of directness and bluntness and support that allows somebody to grow. So in a way, I gave him some permission, and we talked about this later, he and I gave him some permission to be like, oh shit, your pricing is 10x in just a couple of years. I'm like, yeah, and that's the bottom of the ladder.
Yeah.
There's plenty more up from there. We're signing $250,000 deals and doing big shit with companies and creating change across the country. This is what it looks like now. And
so your floor now used to be your ceiling.
Big time. Like probably beyond what I thought my ceiling could ever be. And that felt like a chance to really rewrite what growth is to the outside world. Right. Because I also think we're conditioned. I've seen it. We're conditioned to think like, well, if you grow, you're going to leave people behind. And I think that the reframed version of me had to get to a place of, if I grow, I give permission to others to come along. Yes. And if you want to stay, stay. I'm going.
Right.
And that almost creates a space for someone to occupy, right? If I grow, I've now vacated a position so that you can step in. And this is how sports work, right? Create space, create movement, that creates space. And everything in sports is, if you really break down sports, everything is about space. Where is their space? I'm going to find a pocket. I'm going to create space. I'm going to use space. I'm going to leverage space. I'm going to be tactically tricky with space.
Yeah.
And that growth pillar and that like growth hormone for a lot of us entrepreneurship is all based on guilt. I feel guilty about growing. I feel guilty about not being able to help you. I feel guilty that you might not be able to say yes to this anymore. I feel guilty that, maybe you think that it shouldn't be that anymore.
Yeah. You know what's funny about the guilt thing? First of all, it doesn't go away. And
Nope.
it doesn't go away because we're human. And despite our desperate efforts through technology and AI and all this other shit to rid ourselves of connection, that's how important it actually is to us.
Yep.
Right.
Well,
That's how tribal we actually are.
yep.
And we keep trying to convince ourselves that we're not. You know, I'm going to go do this. One of my declarations a year and a half ago now. Oh no, fuck, 2 years ago was I don't need to build anything on my own ever again.
Nice.
I did that. I have that feather in my cap. I know what that looks like. I know how hard it was, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And it's not a positive reframe on something on a negative experience. It's what do I truly desire, right? And it's to create abundance and do dope shit with really cool people, you know, and collaborate on things that, you know, would actually be impossible to accomplish by myself, you know. And if we're really going to live into that abundance mentality and really speak into existence this rising tide that raises all boats, that's not a solo effort.
Yeah.
You know, so when I walk into rooms, you know, Nicole was out of town and our kids you're a couple of years away, but when it happens, you're going to love it. Our kids are finally in that place where I can leave them at home for an hour or two, you know, and I'm like, Tristan, you're the man of the house, dog. you got this. And I was compelled. I really was, man. You know, and I'm assuming that you experience this way more often than I do as a single dad. And dude, I celebrate you for this. I almost didn't go to that dinner. And you and I are not having this conversation. I'm not sending those texts. We're not having those conversations right. if I didn't go. And rolling those dice and taking that chance, getting in that room. Like how many of us, and that's a justifiable like go, no go criteria. You know, like I'm trusting my children to hold down the fort, get themselves to bed on time. Like it's a fucking parenting test is what it is.
Totally.
Like, is this place going to be a mess? Are all the snacks going to be busted wide open when I get home?
The pots and pans are out.
What chaos, you know? And, but if you don't create the space, like there was work that needed to be done as a dad to get to that place so that I could be over here.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And that's what, you know, in this example, that's a lagging indicator of how effectively I was able to do that.
Yeah, definitely.
You know what I'm saying? And it's so easy for us to place these restrictions on ourselves that inhibit our growth. Right. And there's so much expansion that has shown up as a result of being present in that room at that dinner. And I am so pumped. And everything happened as it should. I walked away from that franchise opportunity because where I'm in alignment, I'm in the best place I've ever been as a husband and a father. And there's not a big enough carrot that you could dangle in front of me that would warrant compromising that.
Nice.
You know? And then I get on the plane and I'm like, oh shit, what did I do? So like both these things can exist at the same time. Doing what's in alignment for you isn't always comfortable.
Yeah.
But it makes those tough decisions so much easier because there's an outdated version of Mycal that's like, fuck it, we can make it work. Because the opportunity on that side of the fence was really lucrative. It solved a lot of problems, etc. You know, but it wasn't for me.
Man, there's so much wisdom in holding both. Right, that there's guilt and acceleration simultaneously. To any business owner out there, the answer to growth is less. And once you figure that mechanic out, then the opportunity to be in both really changes. There's whatever, every business is going to have like a totem pole of clients, right? Clients at the bottom of the totem pole who are new or smaller revenue or a diminished relationship, and then you're going to have people that are all in. And much like the pricing ladder, you have to go cut the bottom and make the new floor the all-in people, and then elevate from there. And when you start to make those changes, I do think there's a guilt about not being able to help everyone. And similar in parenting, there's a guilt about not being able to do everything, right? Not being able to be at every moment. But we're not preparing. This is my opinion. I'm not preparing Emerson to be a boy. I'm preparing him to be a man.
Yeah.
And that's future, right? Because present me would love to have some of these conveniences, but there's moments where if he falls down, I'm taking him to ice skating classes.
Nice.
And I would love to have him not fall. I would love to have him do it perfectly. I would love to have it be a great experience. Also, he needs to know how to fail. He needs to learn to trust himself. He needs to learn to regulate if he's not having a good day. Now, if it gets to a certain point, I'm happy to step in. First day of class, super overloaded. He cried for 4.5 minutes and was like, I want to go. And I'm like, okay, cool. Second day, totally different Emerson. He showed up the whole time. It was smiling and laughing and falling and tripping, and it was great. But that though is also how we as leaders have to encourage people. There's a psychological structure that I would encourage every leader or business owner to really like spend time thinking about. It's called the Pygmalion effect. So if I speak to a person about how I see them in an elevated fashion, I describe them as they are capable, not as they are, but as they are capable, they're more likely to behave like that. And this is true with kids. I also think it's true with each other. And this is really important if you're building a network.
Yep.
If I connect two people, that's an example of how I model that. So if I put you on a text with somebody, I'm like, hey, Mycal's a killer. Mycal's doing big stuff here. Mycal is showing up for him. He's showing up for others, and he's a phenomenal dad. If I speak that about you, you're more likely to live into that. Right. But if I'm like, oh, he's figuring some stuff out, and we would never tolerate someone talking to us like that in a deep relationship. But we do tolerate ourselves talking like that.
Oh yeah. It's which really speaks to the curation of your inner circle and where your input's coming from. Right. Like we do not engage in conversation. We do not sit in rooms that's just one big circle jerk of how great we are. It's like, no. There's an expectation that you become and or act as if you are that great. And that's a totally different energy than, Aaron, everything's going to be all right. Go ahead and pick yourself back up and dust yourself. I was like, no, dog, you said you were going to create that thing. Are you really going to do it or not?
Where are you at?
Either pick it up or put it down. But quit fucking around.
Yep.
And that's a totally different energy, and I challenge anybody to try to create that dynamic in your brain for yourself exclusively. Good fucking luck. Because you can't, you talked about you having that out of body experience. where greater Aaron is looking at lesser Aaron. It's just like, which way are you gonna go, buddy? That when you're so deep in your own stuff, like those moments are really rare.
Yes.
And the intensity of the peak emotional experience that you have to be moving through for that dynamic to show up, like you can't live in that all the time. Like that is such a intense moment. It's like being in a firefight, like, and then when it's over, you're just like, I'm so glad that's over, and regardless of which way it went, at least, there's like this relief,
Yeah.
and like, so it's important that you get around people that see you as and want for you a better version of yourself, and I think that so many of us are the ego gets in the way and says, I don't want to be challenged in that way, but everybody I'm surrounded by now thinks I'm the greatest thing since sliced bread.
Mm-hmm.
So why would I want to now I'm moving at the expense of my ego.
Yeah.
Right. This isn't safe. Like, I have to do more. You mean like, oh, I have to do it different? Or what do you mean they don't serve me anymore? Like,
it's the big fish, small pond mentality.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I have lately been reflecting on various different points in my journey that create a lot of contrast. I went to a high school in Maryland.
Ayo, 301, baby.
Let's go. And student council board or whatever is putting on our 20-year anniversary. And I was thinking back to like who I was then. And then I was looking at, a couple of key moments as I exited high school and got to college. And then I was looking at college and exiting there. And my first job, so out of college, I graduated in 2009 during this recession. And I had a degree in finance. I was a D1 athlete. And I'm like trying to find my footing for what's next with this finance degree, but it's a shitty time to do that. So I went into apartment maintenance. I was doing that during college to like pay for my extracurriculars and have fun, and found a slot for full-time maintenance work. So I went from being like a big fish, small pond, right? I'm at a college, a 4-year university, and I'm an athlete and I'm getting, a lot of stuff done. I'm having fun, to like now I'm literally working across town at the rival college campus at their all student, like luxury student housing, but I'm the maintenance guy. There is nothing glamorous about that.
Right.
And I was thinking back to that version of me and really what I was willing to do. If I really look at it, I didn't know this at the time. Yeah. But what I was really willing to do, I was willing to take a step backwards to realign with my longer term objective. And I was willing to get shit on and like, man, quite literally deal with all these shitty situations and do something that I felt was going to take me forward. And most of the time we do that, it's not glamorous, it's not cool, and it comes with this degree of separation from maybe what you thought you were going to get. I was thinking back to this, like, no, if you had told me then as a maintenance guy, or told anybody that saw me, right? Because if you look at a maintenance guy in an apartment complex, anybody that lives in an apartment complex ever would not look at a maintenance guy and be like, in 10 years, that guy's going to be a fucking killer coach.
Right.
Coaching high net worth people and flying across the country and speaking on stage. No one would ever guess that.
Right.
And that's where your circle determines your future. If that was the only circle that I had, the students on campus and the other workers and the manager of that property, if that was the only environment that I had, the only people that were feeding me influence, I would still be a maintenance guy. I'd probably just be a manager. I'd maybe have my slow rankings up. Maybe I'd get to regional, who knows? But I'd still be wearing someone else's logo on my fucking chest.
Yep.
And if your environment is not conducive to creating this future, the fastest way to create it is to change your environment. There's an internal change that will happen, but you'll blend to match the environment 9 times out of 10.
Yep. Yeah. They say, I don't know the exact statistic, but they say your chances of doing something big with your life increase exponentially if you get out of your hometown.
Yep.
And that's not to say there's anything wrong with your hometown, because there are people that are going to transition into that hometown and absolutely crush. My wife and I were actually just having this conversation last night, you know, because being a military kid, I got to start over every 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, it's big.
Right.
It's
And it wasn't a conscious decision. It was very intuitive. Like, okay, like I was the skater kid, Jinkos and DC shoes in Prattville, Alabama. I'm gonna try South Pole jeans and Timberlands in Waldorf and see how that fits. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And because nobody knew a different a previous version of Mycal.
There's no way to assess whether it's true or not.
Right. And that's one of the things that I had to overcome in business, because that thing that helped me for a really, really long time doesn't work anymore. This is the longest I've been anywhere. And any change I made to the business, to the team, etc., shit has been paralyzing for me.
Yep.
Because everybody's going to see it.
Mm-hmm.
There are people that still remember what was old and can compare it to what's new.
Yep.
And it's like, I did not realize until I started making these shifts, like I had become reliant on that.
Yep.
And now I'm in this place you can't just pick up and leave.
Yep.
Or I could.
The cost is high, right?
Right. But that doesn't help. The stakes, you know, the stakes are real high to engage in that behavior now.
Yeah, man.
You know, so it's really important that Mycal surrounds myself with people with like you and Mycal Hunter and Sebastian and, you know, Matt Gottsman and all these guys and girls that are like, no, man, like you're okay. Like that change is necessary. You need to go do that, you know?
Yeah. You know, the idea of moving, I experienced something special in my move too. Like everything burned. I went to zero. Perfect. Very special. Completely necessary. I moved to Phoenix. Like burn it. Let's rise again.
Mm-hmm.
The skill though that you learn there is fundamentally top notch. Mm-hmm. You learn to re-articulate who you are and reestablish these things. What's interesting is if you think about doing that in a new city or in your current city, mm-hmm. you end up in the same quandary that most business owners and entrepreneurs get trapped in forever. And that's, I don't want to unhinge and separate from everyone that currently understands me. Mm-hmm. So I won't make the change.
Yeah.
And we're back to history dictating what's going on. If you, I don't know, let's say you wake up and you're like, you know what? We're no longer going to have 500 people in the gym. We're going to have 50. Mm-hmm. And we're going to make it for the 50 who are so committed to their health that it's going to look completely different. Most of the reason that we would hesitate to do that, just like we would hesitate to leave where we're from, our hometown, mm-hmm. is because everyone around us is validating the current version of us, and the likelihood that we would get validation at the new level goes way down because we don't know if we're going to get validation.
Right.
Who are you? Why are you doing this? I've learned this the hardest way possible, dude, that when you start to go through this stuff, the old people in your life, they tell you that you're changing because they don't want mm-hmm. your supply to them to be cut off.
Right.
And man, the real growth happens when you do that and you figure out who is there for the right reasons.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. Oh, dude, in the moment, it's like, dude, this hurt. This thing's real bad, but it's a phantom pain.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, because once you're on the other side of that decision and into action, you know, like there is something freeing about. Have you been skydiving? Mm-hmm. Like the oh shit only lasts a brief moment, and it's the most terrifying sitting at the edge.
Yes, when the door's like
and then you get out, you're in free fall, And all of a sudden it's like, well, there's nothing I can do now.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it is the ultimate surrender, because it is, to me, the best physical, tangible example of what it is to actually let go completely.
Yep.
And it brings into context how short the menu actually is of shit that you actually control.
Yep.
And to me, that makes life so much more manageable.
Yep.
Because we become, it's so easy to become fixated on this laundry list of shit that's out of our control, right? Chaos, anxiety, depression, like all of that lives over here.
Yep.
And then if you're able to swing over here to this end of the spectrum, like, oh, well, I can only unscrew so many bolts today. I can only sell off so much equipment.
Yep.
Like, okay, cool. Well, I'm gonna go home and be with my kids now. You know, I'm gonna go rock this podcast with Aaron. We're gonna have a good time. It's gonna be awesome. It's gonna be a high level conversation. Sweet. I'm gonna be here for that, because I can't be. Yeah, that it doesn't serve me to just be there wishing I was.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, it's like, be where your feet are.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm thinking about this. Like, you basically can control your environment, your thoughts, and your choices. And if you put yourself in the right environment, your thoughts and choices are way different. And if you make the right choices, your environment is going to be very different. And your thoughts are going to be very different.
Yeah.
And if you start changing your thoughts, your environment's going to change and your choices are going to change. Like, they're all, it's just a triangle of these things.
Yeah.
And man, the best teacher of this has easily been Emerson.
Yeah.
Like, maybe my job is to steer to some extent, protect, defend, sure, educate, train, pour in, nurture, support, love. But you can't control a 3-year-old. I can't control. I could give him everything he wants. I could put him on the phone with Santa Claus. He might be really happy. He might not. And to get to a place where you can acknowledge what is in your control and what you can influence, because there's a difference.
Yeah.
And then what you don't have control over is what it takes to really level beyond what you're capable of. Because eventually your capacity is going to tap out as a leader, as a business owner, as a producer. Like, you have to get to other people and let go of that. And I was thinking about this the other day. I have a functional health doc. And I go to him, he takes my levels, he looks at my stuff, he's like, do this, do this, do this, take this, take this, take this. He gives me a peptide, freaks me out every time. And as I'm doing this, there's not a single fucking moment where I'm like, I doubt this guy. Right? He knows way more than I do.
Yeah.
So I have to surrender to, like, okay, you're guiding me. I have to trust you implicitly. Whatever you say jump, I'm gonna jump. But how many other areas of our life are we like, nah, I definitely know better. And once you get in the driver's seat of, like, okay, I control my environment, I control my thoughts, I control my choices, etc. If you actually build the right parameters for those, dude, I think you can go through a quantum leap in like 6 months. I really think everyone's capable of like a dramatic, what do they call it? Like a glow up. Like, you can glow up real fast, dude.
Yeah, dude. It's so funny, man. So the story that I wanted to tell you, and I coached my last class at the gym as it used to be, and it feels so freeing to be able to phrase it that way now. The gym as it used to be a couple of weeks ago. And the week or so leading up to that, I'm in the aftermath of walking away from this franchise opportunity. And I'm an emotional dumpster fire of not only what am I, the chapter of my life that is essentially ending, but also the unknown of what comes next. Because I had a plan and I burnt that shit to the ground, and now we're here, right? And the over under going into that class was 45 seconds before I lost my shit. I made it 3 words.
Impressive.
Yeah.
I'm very impressed, actually.
The day before that, though, a client who's become a really good friend of mine, for whatever reason, very certain, the universe doesn't make mistakes. She calls me and says, I don't have a car. Will you take me from point A to point B? Well, point A to point B turned into hanging out for 2 hours. And her husband have had their practice for 25 years, chiropractic. And dude, she just felt compelled to just give me wisdom of my situation that I could not see.
Mm.
And she was like, Mycal, for 25 years, we've had our practice and we've added this and added that. And by the numbers, if you looked at it objectively, the profit margins on all that other stuff would suggest go ahead and get rid of chiropractic.
Mm.
And I'm so glad that we didn't, because all of that other opportunity was layered on and brought to us because of chiropractic.
Yeah.
Right. So I was like, oh, that's a cool story. Awesome. And then she was like, you still don't get it. So she punched me in the face. She's like, everything that you're doing in leadership and character development is predicated on fitness. And I've been watching you for the last 6 months run away from being the gym guy. And now that you burn it to the ground, you have an opportunity here. You get to ask yourself, what does it need to look like so that it actually serves you?
So it matches. Nice.
And dude, I just started bawling, because where I was in this mindset of scarcity and loss, she brought me into abundance and what I stand to gain from this moment.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I sent you that text message.
Yeah.
Hey, dude, I have an opportunity to create that.
That's awesome.
Would you come? Right. And so that was you can't put all that in a fucking text message, but that was the moment that I was like, oh, I know exactly who I want in my place.
Yeah.
Let me find out if that's real.
Man, like I can appreciate that you had someone give you truth.
Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. And then you could go out and find more. What that's like moving in me is that both you and I have fitness as a backdrop. Mm-hmm. You and I also have our physique as a billboard.
Yes.
And to dissociate from that for either of us, more than likely, is to separate ourselves in two, right? To fragment ourselves. Yeah. It'd be like taking away your history.
Right.
And in the world of dating, I think in the world of entrepreneurship, there's like this delusional, my history doesn't exist.
Yeah.
That seems to be really prevalent among people who are still trying to find their footing. Where they're like, well, I don't want to talk about my failures. I don't want to talk about what didn't go well. I don't want to,
yeah, dude.
Like, no, I've never had any failed relationships. Like, and maybe the route to abundance that this woman so eloquently brought to both of our attention is that the objective is integration. The objective is like a singularity of my past and my present and my future are all coexisting. Yeah. I'm making choices for my future, but I'm not stripping myself of my history either.
Yeah, my buddy Logan Gelbrick puts it so beautifully. You have to transcend and include.
Nice.
As you evolve from one level to the next, take the pieces that still continue to serve, but let go of the things that don't.
Yeah.
Right. And nice. what shows up for me as you're describing all of that is, about 2 years ago, that's where like this cascade of evolution started to occur for me. And I came to this realization working with my speaking coach. I didn't realize that I spent the large part of the last 20 years trying to become so successful in my own mind that getting kicked out of the Air Force Academy became irrelevant. And what he brought to me was the gift that he gave me. He's like, dude, like in your hero's journey, that's your inciting incident. None of the rest of this shit happens
Without that.
Without that. So you can't not talk about it.
Right.
Like otherwise you're, and like, I know you as a person, all that kind of good stuff. You wouldn't do it intentionally, but you're leading people astray. You're creating this assumption that you just fucking landed because of the resume that you've built in the aftermath.
Definitely true. Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
great point.
Again, that's truth. Like, that hurt my feelings. You know what I mean? Like, dude, you derailed my plan. I was on the way. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm really fucking close to never having to talk about that shit ever again.
Right.
We can just pick up at the Marines. It's like, no, dog. Like, it's not who you are. Like, and that's where he helped me create the distinction.
Nice.
That event, that moment in your life, that chapter is not who you are, but it is part of your story. And dude, like I went from telling that shit, talking about it from a place of shame to telling it from a place of sacred.
Nice.
And creating that flip has created a cascade of opportunity ever since. Because now, like, if we're fragmented, right? Like, that was a huge fragment that is now integrated, right? And that in next level speak, I'm so much more in alignment in the aftermath of that awareness.
Yep.
That now I have room for everything that's coming.
Yeah,
and has come, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Man, what an awesome way to think about what it means to lead also. Right?
Sure.
Take the mask off.
Mm-hmm.
The value of that event also goes up if you face your future. And you're like, look, this is my history. And man, there's a lot of wisdom. I've been doing I've had to go on a massive quest to figure out what does healing look like through some of these changes over the last 5 years that I've gone through.
Yeah.
And there's a great book that I've really come to recommend really highly. It's called The Amazing Development of Men. Okay. Unbelievable book. If you're a man, read this book.
Yeah.
If you love a man, read this book.
Mm.
Like I'm going to say this now. I'm sort of like spelling this out. I don't know that I would seriously date someone until they read the book.
Ooh,
it's that good.
Okay. Yeah.
Because without it, they can't understand where I'm at and where I'm going.
Mm-hmm.
And
is it also that, because that's a tool, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm gonna ask you this in two parts. Is that barrier to entry to dating Aaron also because you're not yet in a place that you can articulate where you are and what you're going through, and that is a tool to bridge that gap? Great question.
I think I can articulate where I'm at. Mm-hmm. It is a barrier to entry, much like paying a cover charge.
Sure.
Mm-hmm. So it's a validation stamp of like,
love that.
Let me make sure that our intentions are aligned. Mm-hmm. And to have someone else explain it and not hear it from me.
Yeah.
I think is a powerful way to say like, hey, yes, if you're committed to this, then mm-hmm, here's your ticket. Here's your cover charge.
Totally. 100%. Yeah. Are we both growing? Cool. Because if we are, you'll get it. And if we're not, you won't. And
yeah,
we don't have to waste each other's time. Love that.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a great question. Yeah. In going through that and reading that, mm-hmm, I think for what you're sharing too, the idea that our history can have value, mm-hmm, also requires us to acknowledge that someone is there.
Yeah.
And probably looking for a life jacket or mm-hmm, some kind of rope.
Yeah.
And the denial of our own history is the denial of their life jacket.
What shows up for me right there is to deny your history, cripple someone else's future.
Yep.
Fuck. Yeah, dude. Dude, that's the mic drop. That's the perfect place to cut it. Aaron Velky, everybody. Where can everybody listening find you, help them get out of their own way, and create their living vision, brother?
If you go to www.living.vision, you can check out everything we've got. We've got retreats. We've got an 8-week accelerator program. We'll do a new one about the time that this episode drops. So if that's something of interest, if you want to build a vision fast, we can do that. If you want to just talk, want to get connected, Instagram, social platforms, great place to go. My name is unique enough that there's only one of me, so that's cool. And then look, beyond that, the thing that I'm most passionate about doing and proliferating is this idea that you need to have vision to make better choices. So find a way to follow along. We've got lots of resources. If you're listening to this and you are unfocused or unclear, send me a DM and I will send you one of our best exercises. We use it with Fortune 500 companies all the way down to like mom and pop shops, called Developing Focus. There's a video to play where I'm using the board that you can see behind me and like mapping all this cool stuff out, and a workshop, a workbook underneath it. So whether you ever end up becoming a client, I do still want to help you. And you can never buy anything, and I will still feed you with ways to create change and up level you, just like you do.
Love it, man. Love it. I'm grateful for you, brother. I'm glad you're in my circle, for sure.
Same. I feel very privileged about that.
100%, man. For everybody out there listening, head over to coachdurs.com. Stand by for what's happening at our new next level fitness location. I'm super pumped about that. That should be coming to fruition in the next month or so. And until next time, guys, progress always.